So on Monday of this week, I shared a video with you guys talking about a meta position that I opened looking for more upside on a swing trade. This position taught me a lot. There was a lot of learnings, a lot of management, and a lot of things that I take away from this trade that I want to go ahead and share with you guys in today's video. I'm happy to say that today the trade worked out beautifully. The contracts that I was in are now up over 200% at the peak of today, profiting over $17,000 on this trade, but it wasn't all that pretty. There were definitely some things that I could have done better. There were definitely some things that would have turned this trade into a $20, $30, $50, $60,000 profit potential, and I sit here with a $17,000 profit. Now, of course, I am still ecstatic about that gain. I'm still very happy with what I did with this position, but there are absolutely things to take away from this trade, learning lessons on how to improve and fine-tune in the future, and that is what we're going to focus on in today's video. So if you guys enjoyed today's video, press that like button. If you guys did end up making some money from this trade, make sure to let me know down below. Let's go ahead and jump right into it. All right, guys, so first of all, I'm just going to pull up my broker so there's no questions, if, and, or but, or anything about what happened here. First of all, I want to make it very clear. If this was a paper trading account, you would see this is a simulated account all over this screen. This is my real account here on Interactive Brokers. And you can see today, the position on Meta was up over $40,000, but that means I was in drawdown. Net, this trade is about a $17,000 profit. And I'm going to go ahead and pull up TradeZella so that you guys can see the exact details of this meta position. So you guys can see right here, right now it's about a $18,000 profit. It's about a 45% gain. And there were periods that I had to sit in some drawdown. So if I zoom out here, you guys will be able to see my entries and exits along the way. So guys, looking at this chart, you can see here were majority of my entries, here was another add, and then here were most of my exits today, up here towards that 510, 520 area on Meta, entering around that 505 and entering around that 497 area. There's a lot of things that I have to talk about here and how I want to break down what I could have done better. The most important thing that I take away from this position is that I should have my adding into this position needed to be different. That was number one. So number one, how I added and how I took this position, my entry points could have been better, right? I was looking for a pullback and a long, a break and retest long, which we'll get into more detail on the charts in just a second. But I was adding a little bit too heavy early on, not leaving myself enough risk to add into the drop. Right? So if I was in too early with too much size, where I should have been lighter here and adding into the drop to get a better average on the position so that once my average is lower down here, I get a much better profit potential on the push higher. This was number one, and the first thing that I learned from this trade. If you're looking for a swing trade, if you're looking for a swing trade on a break and retest or whatever strategy you're trading, your first entry should not be your only entry, right? And if your first entry is a little too heavy, you could put yourself in the position to not want to add any more to it because you're over your risk tolerance, which could potentially put you in a less profitable position. So if I would have saved more capital here, rather than getting all in, not all in, but getting in majority early on, if I would have saved more capital and been more patient on the entry, I could have been adding more at a better average, which would have exponentially grown this percentage point gain and exponentially grown this dollar amount gain. That was one of the things I took away from this trade. The second thing that I took away from this trade was timing, right? And this is something that I need to continue to work on. I took Friday expiration contracts on Monday. So I gave myself an entire week for this trade to work out. Now, while it did end up working for me today on Thursday, so one day before expiration, it would have been a much better experience for me in terms of drawdown if I would have taken 2 weeks out, right? If I had next week contracts on Meta this entire week, my drawdown would have been much less, right? Because those contracts are getting affected less because there is more time, right? And the theta decay is less because there is more time, right? So in the future, if I like a setup to maybe work out on 1 week, right, let me go ahead and get an extra week. If I think the setup's going to take 2 weeks, let me get 3 weeks, right? Let me buy a little bit more time to reduce the volatility and reduce the drawdown that I may sit in. Now, I want to make it very clear, which we will go over in the charts in just a second. At no point did Meta break my strategy, break my setup. So the drawdown that I was in was not because I was breaking a rule or breaking the trade plan. It was not because I was hoping and praying that it would come back up. There was no point in this trade that we broke down the levels that I needed to see hold. But the reason I was in so much drawdown on this position, roughly down about 35-40% at one time at the peak of the low, is because of my expiration on the option premium, right? The expiration was too short, and there was a lot of volatility to the downside and theta decay as the option expiration was approaching. So if I would have had shares, if I would have had longer dated contracts, it would have been a much better situation for me. The profit today would have probably been less, but I could have maintained much more emotionless, and I would have been in less drawdown and less loss potential. So two just sort of high-level things that I took away from this trade and something that could help you sort of in the future on your swing trades. All right, with that out of the way, let's go into the chart on Meta, and let's break down day by day what I looked at on this chart to stay in the position. So first of all, if you haven't seen my original idea on Meta, go watch my video on Monday. Also, my video yesterday explains Meta again as well. But here is Meta's chart on the 1 hour chart, right? And this is really where my analysis started, right? And I saw Meta pretty much doing a stair-stepping upside move and continuing to move higher. And we can see, actually, you know what? Let's start on the 4 hour, because the 4 hour is really where I was looking for the break and retest to set up. So here is Monday, right? Let's start on Monday. This is Monday right here. And so on Monday, I'm actually going to go ahead and let me just delete everything and sort of start fresh and give you guys a really good perspective of what I was looking for. On Friday of last week, let's start on Friday of last week. This is right here. Friday of last week, we had a big pop to the upside. We had a pop to the upside making new highs on Meta. And so what I was looking for was a pullback to 494 on a break and retest setup. So I'm going to now drop down to the hourly chart, and I'm going to sort of show you exactly what my mindset was on this trade on Monday, right? So here is Friday, right, of 2 weeks ago. Here is Friday of last week, and here is Monday. This is my entry day. So that is entry day right here. So I saw Meta the Friday of last week squeeze over this previous high, right? And so what I was looking for originally was a pullback to 494, hold this previous high, right? And then push to the upside. You can see that Meta pretty much did that, but there was one day that had me thinking, that had me slightly concerned, that had me needing to reassess this position. And this was Tuesday of this week. So day one was Monday, right here. This was my entry. Day one, Monday, and everything was just fine. I saw we held above that 494. This was the retest level that I was looking to hold, and I wanted to see us pull back to that 494, maintain here, and push to the upside. What Meta did, but there was an outlier day. There was an outlier day that made me really have to think and made me have to stay mentally strong. And this was Tuesday. And so when Tuesday came in, right, we'll go ahead and zoom back out. Tuesday came in, and we got lower under 494. So my first thing that I needed to do was, let me reassess this just for 1 minute. Let me not just panic out of this position. Let me take a look. Is there any other levels that I should be looking at to potentially see if they could hold? And the level that I found, which I already had this on my charts, but I'm doing this in real time with you guys, was right here. It was 488. 488 was the previous level that was rejecting on Meta. And so you guys can see right here, we're going to slowly build this chart to what I already had, but we're going to sort of reverse analyze this. So you guys can see right here, we had that 488 level, 488 level, 48 level, which was a triple top rejection a couple weeks ago. This was the same level on Friday of last week that we had the big squeeze to the upside, right here at 488. So coming into that Tuesday, when we did drop my 494 level, I was saying, okay, let me go ahead and give this 488. This is going to be my ultimate stop loss. If we break back under this high, break back under these highs, then I'm getting out of this position. I'm going to accept that I am incorrect. This is what I told to the group, and this is what I told to myself. And at that point, at the peak of this Tuesday low, I was down about 35% on these contracts, and it was getting to the point where I needed to start to protect myself. Now, I monitored, right? I stayed patient, and I monitored to see what Meta was doing at that 488 level. And so if we go to the 5-minute chart and we go back to that Tuesday action, look at how 488 reacted, right? We had a nice hold there intraday on Tuesday. We did pull back, but we held there again, and we had a nice close off that 488 demand. So I was telling the group, hey, we're going to hold this position as long as we're over 488. Let's see if this level can go ahead and hold. This is still a good structuring move to the upside. If I go back to the hourly chart here, we can also see what has Meta done in the past that makes me want to go ahead and believe that 488 level. Well, let's go ahead and take a look at 480, right? 480, previous high, new lows. 488, previous high, new lows, right? Right there, and new lows on Tuesday. So on Tuesday, I still told myself, hey, this still looks okay, right? We still are above this previous high. We're above that previous high. This previous high was a support, and that 488 level has now proven to me that we're going to try to go ahead and hold that. So I gave it another day, right? I was still in a risk tolerance that I was comfortable with, and I still believed in the chart setup, right? We still had that 488 demand holding up, which was right there. We had that 488 here, and we had that 488 hold again on Tuesday. Yesterday, Wednesday, sort of that hump day, right? It was sort of moving day for Meta. There was a very key thing that happened yesterday on Meta that made me want to hold and actually rebuilt my confidence in the position more than ever. And you guys can see right here, that original 494 level that we were watching, that I originally wanted Meta to hold, was reclaimed yesterday on Wednesday. I'm going to go into the 5-minute chart, and I'm going to show you yesterday's price action. So you can see this is Wednesday right here. This is Wednesday right here. And yesterday, you guys can see, look how strong Meta maintained above that 494. This was the previous high from Tuesday. This was the level originally I wanted to see hold. We went from Tuesday rejections at 494 to Wednesday lows at 494. And after seeing that, I was reestablished in this position, and I was confident again that Meta could continue to the upside. Now, the last and final day was today, and today was the day that we finally got the squeeze. But there was one thing that was still in the way, and that was this 505 level on Meta. So if I go ahead and drop this down to the 15-minute, you guys are going to see we still had some drama at this 505, anywhere between 505 and 503. So we had 503 and we had 505. This was a level or a zone that I was concerned about coming into today. So I'm going to go ahead and draw that zone. This is exactly how I had my charts. You guys can see this from the pre-market live stream. This was exactly what I was concerned about on Meta. We had this zone right here coming into today. We had 505, 503. This is 503. That was Wednesday's highs. We had 505 highs right back here. So I was coming into today, and I was telling the group, we need to get over this 503, 505 level, or this trade is going to come back lower. And if we drop into today's price action, and we go into what we saw early morning today, you guys can see that we had a push and a hold right above that 503. And after seeing that, we had the beautiful upside. We had a maintain above 505. And after seeing a hold above 503, a hold above 505 intraday today, that is when I knew that I had a position in progress and I was cooking with gas, right? And so the hold above 503 today is a perfect hold above that previous high. You can see right here, this is 503. And today we held perfectly above that 503, creating that upside move. So if we go to the 5-day, 5-minute chart, I'm just going to recap day by day, every single day, what we saw here on Meta and how, once again, a little bit of a summary of how I maintain this position. So this is day one. This is day one, day two, day three, and day four. This is my entry day, right? This is entry, and today is exit. Entry, exit, 2 days of maintaining. This is the lifeline of my meta position. Day 1, I entered without any plans of touching the position, right? I entered. I knew it could pull back. I was going to give it that 494. That was it, right? I didn't really care about what it was going to do. 494 was my stop. I had a larger term game plan. There was no management that was going to be done on that first day. That's typically what I do at swing trades. I'm going to enter it, right? I'm going to enter it on that day 1, and I'm going to know where my stop is, and that's what I do, right? That's it. Day 2, we come in, and we start to see the rejections come in right at my level that I wanted to see hold. 494, 494. Didn't feel good about it, right? Was not happy, right? This day right here, sad day, right? Wasn't a good day for my position. But what I did was, instead of panicking, instead of exiting the position right away, I went ahead and I did some reassessment. I found that 488 level that we just talked about, a very key previous high that I saw very strongly maintain intraday. This turned my frown into a somewhat happy type of day, right? I said, okay, I'm really not liking that we're rejecting that 494, but I do like that 488 hold, and I'm going to give this one more day to see if that demand holds on. The next day comes in, and I see a large gap up in the pre-market, which is back above my 494, and it is holding all day. This is a happy day, right? Because I am back above that 494 level. I am seeing that demand step in, right? And I can now be more confident that this position could hold on. This is sort of how this was processing. And then today was, I don't know if I can make much more of a happy face, but today was the best day of them all, right? We had that 494 hold from the day prior. We had a beautiful squeeze. We had a hold above the previous day high, which is right here at 503, and we had a beautiful upside move that I was able to profit take into. So guys, I hope you can see here on the longer term chart, on the hourly chart, how I used previous levels to monitor and maintain and manage this position, right? I'm not managing this position off of fear, off of emotion, off of percentage point losses. I'm managing off of the levels on the chart. Is the setup valid? Are the levels still holding? Trusting the levels, as we talk about this on this channel all the time. I knew we had 480, 488, and 494, right? Those are my 3 levels. I went for the 494. It didn't quite hold. So I gave it that next level to 488. 488 surely held. This was a beautiful level that held perfectly on Tuesday of this week. After that 488 hold, we had the push to the upside, turning 494 back into support, which gave me confidence for that ultimate push to the upside. Now, I'm going to reiterate the learning lesson here that I talked about in the beginning of this video. What I should have done is approach this trade with 2 levels, right? I could say, okay, I'm going to try it along the 494, and then I'll add a little bit if it comes down to the 488, because I still think it's valid at 488. But what I did incorrect here, and something I can improve, was I added too much here on day 1, didn't leave myself enough sort of risk tolerance for day 2. And if I would have done that, right, if I would have gone in a little bit lighter on day 1 and added more on day 2, this would have been a monstrosity trade, right? But what I did was I added too much here. I maintained here. So I did get that profit after the push, but I could have done better on adding slowly into this position, into the demand levels that I was looking for meta to hold. Now, of course, guys, as I was managing this trade, I was focusing on the S&P, focusing on the NASDAQ, analyzing the overall futures market, but that is just simply not enough time for me in this video to explain all of that. If you want to get more in-depth on that, you either come to my pre-market live streams where we review the futures every day, which sort of assists in the way that I hold these positions, or just come join the community where we trade live every day. We have live market commentary, and you guys that are part of the group, I think you guys know we were watching this like a hawk every single day. So overall, I hope that this video serves as some type of a help to some of you guys that maybe swing trade, try to manage positions, try to look for or trying to learn what to look for when managing positions. Have your levels set. The one thing that I take away from my trade personally is a little bit less aggressive on the entries, be able to add risk over time if things go against you, but don't keep adding if it totally breaks down. There was no way that I was going to be adding to meta under that 488 level. That was my ultimate stop. Make sure you always have an ultimate stop when things really start to break down. But maybe pick a few levels that you like, that you could add a little bit into as the market pulls back, and then look to see if that trade sets up. That's about all that I have for you in today's video, guys. I hope you did enjoy it. A pretty awesome trade. We talked about this on Monday in a YouTube video. We talked about every single day on the live stream, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and today, Thursday, this morning. We reviewed meta, and I hope you guys caught a piece of this one. So if you did, press that like button, subscribe to the channel, comment down below, and I hope to see you guys in the next one. Peace.